Hi, my name is Ragnar and I welcome you to a new episode of Horror Trip. Be honest, when you saw that this episode is about zombies, you rolled your eyes at least a little bit, even though you most certainly enjoyed the one or the other TV show, movie, comic, or video game about zombies in the past, because we've had a lot of them in the last years. After all, zombies are kind of fascinating, no matter if they're victims of an epidemic, of sorcery, or of some other inventive scientific reason for their existence, like a very aggressive strain of fungus, for example, as seen in The Last of Us. The zombie is both a great excuse for writers and directors to let the heroes employ lots of ultra-violence against human-like creatures, but they also hold us a mirror in front of us, reminding us of our own mortality and about the futility of trying to resist it. But although there has been no real zombie apocalypse yet, over the last 20 years the media has definitely been flooded with zombies like nothing else. We just arrived at Pride and Prejudice and zombies. Do I need to say more? I mean, it's convenient. As a writer, you can just get to the action right away. Everyone knows the rules of how a zombie works by now, and the most important mystery by now is finding out if you're up against slow zombies, then you're kind of fine, or fast zombies, which means you're fucked. Not much is left in the dark in the world of the living dead, and according to Robert Kirkman's preamble of his Walking Dead comic series, zombies are no longer so much about horror, but about exploring how messed up we are. They make us question our station in society and our society's station in the world. When you think about it, there's definitely something to that interpretation. Most zombie films or series aren't about shock value anymore, like a slasher or a ghost movie, but they pretty much always lead us to the conclusion that man is the real monster and the zombie is merely the catalyst to accelerate humanity's downfall in a lawless post-apocalyptic world, where the undead's physical decay serves as a metaphor for the moral degeneration of society in a system without law and order. But where did the myth originate? Where did George A. Romero get the inspiration for his army of resurrected corpses? I mean, it can't be a real virus that turns humans into lobotomized, rabid, and contagious cannibals, because such a nonsense clearly doesn't exist. No, the zombies' cultural roots are actually way more obvious. A magic spell. Yes, a hex that actually turns living people into undead, resurrected from death, and one that actually works. And to cap it all, I'm gonna give you the recipe. From the late 17th century on, and even until today, one of the predominant religions practiced in the Caribbean area, next to Catholicism and Protestantism of the European settlers, was, and to some extent still is, the tradition of West African voodoo that was brought overseas by slaves from Africa. Although it was officially deemed a heretic belief by the authorities, it was generally tolerated, as long as the slaves disguised their deities with Christian names. I'm not even kidding. And apparently lots of Christian folks gave the wisdom of voodoo priests and priestesses at least some credit, because the clandestine trade with voodoo magic grew into a downright black market. Many people who were piously praying every day, wishing for health, luck, love, or whatever it was they desired, often thought that it couldn't harm to appease more than one deity, just to be extra sure. By, for example, buying a love potion, a lucky charm, or some other magic spell from a bokor, a voodoo sorcerer for hire, so to say. And one very expensive, rare, and equally powerful hex that is said to have originated from Haitian voodoo magic would cause a victim of your choice to be buried alive. This charm is basically a potion with two key ingredients, and one of those was the poison of the puffer fish. You know, that fish that only the most skilled Japanese chefs are allowed to chop into sushi, because one mistake and it's gonna be your last maki. To get the poison into the bloodstream of the victim, the second ingredient is the mashed fruit of the rosehip plant. This blended paste was then applied to, for example, a doorknob, an object the victim would most likely touch with their bare hands, causing a terrible itch which leads to scratching, and which in turn causes slight bruises on the skin through which the pufferfish's poison would enter the victim's bloodstream in very tiny doses. The interesting thing about this poison, tetrodotoxin, is that in these minimal doses it is not fatal, but it only slows down the victim's metabolism and heart rate to an absolute minimum until they'd fall into a catatonic death-like state, just barely alive. No doctor would measure a pulse, and the victim would be diagnosed dead as a doornail. And because Haiti is a very hot and humid region and corpses tend to decay quite fast in the heat, they'd usually be buried on the same day, in shallow graves only about 1 feet beneath the earth. And this person would be officially recorded dead. The effect of the poison, though, would then wear off 1 or 2 days later, with the victim waking up alive and fully conscious in their own grave. So either this person would starve in their own grave, or the Pokor decided to free them, which means they were literally resurrected from the dead. And according to traditional voodoo law, these persons were their undead slaves from that point on, and these slaves were called zombie. So, now you know how to create your very own real do-it-yourself zombie. All you need is pufferfish poison and mashed up rosehip and you're good to go. Just consider that it's a bit harder to harvest your zombie from 6 feet under, so bring good gear, and also make sure their families don't prefer cremation over burial. That would be awkward to say the least. Thank you for watching Horror Trip here on bloodydisgusting.com. If you want to see my other shows, go and check out my YouTube channel RagnarRox, where you'll find videos about horror games, commentaries and analysis on video game design. Click these annotations if you'd like to follow me on Facebook for updates, or consider supporting me on Patreon. My name is Ragnar, and I'll see you next time on Horror Trip.